I'm Jill.
And I'm Kelly. We're so excited to have you in our classroom.
Before we get you started working with students, we're going to go over the correct procedures for lifting and transferring. We have a lot of students in our class use wheelchairs, so it's important that you know the correct steps in order to prevent injuries for yourself and the students. First, we're going to talk about proper body mechanics when you're lifting and transferring in order to prevent injuries for yourself. The first thing to keep in mind is to keep your feet apart and your knees flexed with one foot a little bit forward in front of the other so you have a nice strong balance and you're not wobbling or getting off balance. The next thing is to keep your head and trunk upright so you're not bending at the waist. This helps keep your neck and back strong and it prevents your back from straining or any other injuries to your back that you might get. You also want to make sure you're staying close to the person you're lifting. You don't want to just be lifting with your arms because then you could hurt your arms if they're too heavy. So you want to make sure you're keeping your arms on your body. That way you're relying on your core and your back and your legs to do most of the lifting. Another thing is to keep in mind is keep the weight on the balls of your feet, not on your toes or your heels, because then it could also cause you to get off balance and you don't want to drop the person or things like that. You also, in addition to keeping your head and trunk upright, you want to make sure your core muscles are always tight. This will help you stay balanced. It'll help you have a stronger base with which to lift the person. So that's just important to keep in mind. You also want to keep your chin tucked like this so that you don't strain your neck. If your neck or if your head is back or if your chin isn't tucked, then it could cause neck or back injuries. You also want to keep your back slightly arched because if your back is hunched, it could cause your lower back to strain or it could cause strain to your shoulders. So you just always want to make sure that you're up straight with your back a little arched because then you have a better base to lift the person. You also want to always face the direction of the move. So if you have the person you're going to lift and you want to bring them from this desk to this table, you're not going to lift the person this way and move them. You're going to grab them from this way, bend your legs, pick them up, and just take your steps over to the table so that you don't have to turn around because that can cause stress on your hips. Which brings me to my next point of always pivoting your feet. So as opposed to twisting, you would want to drop your foot, like I said, to keep from straining your hips. Also, as I said, you want to lift with your legs. You never want to bend at the waist to pick up. You always want to keep your knees wide, bend with your knees, and keep your back straight while you're lifting so you don't strain your back or your neck or things like that because your legs are way stronger than your arms and back are. Also, we've touched on this, but keeping the lift close to your body, close to your center of gravity, that's the strongest part of your body, so that's going to be the best place to lift with. And the most important thing, especially when doing two-person lifts, is to coordinate with your partner. Like coordinate with the person you're lifting and coordinate with the person who's helping you lift or transfer because that way you're all on the same page, which will ultimately help you make the lift smoother and prevent injuries for both yourself and the person that you're lifting.
Alright, now we are going to teach you how to do a one-person lift. Now before we start, it's important to remember all of the body mechanics, such as we want to remove all loose jewelry or clothing so that we don't want anything getting caught on our person that we are transferring. So remember, we always want to bend at our knees and keep our back a little bit arched, our chins tucked. So in order to do the one-person lift, you're going to first talk to your person and say, now I'm going to lift you. I'm going to count on the count of 3, I will be lifting you. First, you want to wrap your left arm around their back and shoulder. Then you are going to take your other arm and put it right underneath, right above their knee. And remember, you want to be really close to your student. So you don't want to be far away like this because then you will hurt your back. So you get as close to them as possible, hug them in really tight. On the count of 3, I'm going to lift you. 1, 2, 3. Then we are going to pivot over to the table and gently position them on the table where they will not risk injury to themselves. Here we would need a bigger table. but you want to make sure that they are comfortable. So when you are lifting, you want to make sure that your arm is behind them, not underneath their armpit, because then this arm could risk injury. So you just want to make sure that they are comfortable talking to them and being very gentle, remembering all those body mechanics, and that is how you do a one-person lift. Now that you have them on the table, in order to put them back into the wheelchair, you are first going to carefully sit them up into a comfortable seated position. Then you are going to wrap your arm around, just like we did in the chair. Grab underneath the legs. Get really close, bend with your knees, pivot, walk over, and gently rest them in the chair.
Now we're going to show you how to do a two-person lift. For a two-person lift, you'll judge when the person is too heavy, and that's when you'll ask for assistance. So similar to the one-person lift, before starting the two-person lift, you're going to remove all jewelry and make sure you're wearing comfortable shoes and comfortable clothing, nothing that will get caught on the person that you're lifting or their wheelchair. Then you want to make sure you put the brakes in the person's wheelchair and you're unstrapping him or her. And then the leader, which is myself, who's going to lift the upper body, will talk to the person. Okay, I'm going to be lifting you out of your wheelchair. We're going to be going over to that table. The assistant is going to be at the legs, helping to lift the legs. So first, I'm going to go behind the person and cross their arms. Then I'm going to grab either forearms, but make sure you're being careful not to lift underneath their armpits, because that can get uncomfortable or cause you to drop the patient or things like that.
Then you are going to come to the base of the child or person, and you are going to grab underneath the legs right above the knee.
So then when you're bending at your knees and not bending at the waist, on my count, the leader always is the one to count to 3. When I count to 3, we're going to lift the person and bring them over to the designated area. 1, 2, 3. So we bring them to the table and make sure we're continuing to support them the whole time, and we gently place them down while providing support to their head and neck. The table will be a little longer for most instances. You stay by the person to make sure that they don't fall off the table or roll off of the table, but that's how you do a two-person lift. Now we're going to show you the procedures for a two-person transfer back into the wheelchair. So similar to how you did for the one person, you're going to get the person back into a comfortable seated position. And the leader, myself, is going to go behind them and cross their arms and grab them by their forearms, careful not to go underneath their armpits.
Then the assistant will grab underneath the legs right above the knee, as we just demonstrated, and bend with the knees, and on the count of 3,
1, 2, 3.
we are going to lift them and place them back in the wheelchair. Thank you for watching our video. We hope that you have a better understanding of how to lift someone using a one-person lift and a two-person lift out of a wheelchair. It is very important, though, to always keep in mind the safety of the student. So if you are ever doubtful or uncomfortable lifting a person, never hesitate to ask either Jill or myself on how to do it.
Now we hope you're paying attention, because we're going to have a little quiz where you can show what you know.
Thank you.